Help, it's the holidays. I know so many of us can be overwhelmed by the upcoming season and all the expectations that come along with it. So, for the next several weeks, we're going to be helping you out by encouraging you to focus on the real reason for the season and to create memories that will last a lifetime. Guys, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Courtney Doyle, and this is the place I am giving you permission to not have it all together. Welcome back to the show. You know that we are doing Help, It's the Holidays. And I have the most lovely lady here with me today, Pamela. We have become friends through a mutual program that we were in, and you are the empty nest guru. That's what I like to call you because you are coaching moms on that next phase of life. And so often we're forgotten about. You have this identity when your kids are growing up and you're all the things, and then they leave. Wah,
Mhm.
wah. And now you have to rediscover, wait, who was I before I was a mom and who am I today? And so I love that the work that you're doing for moms. I'm going to turn the mic over to you though. Tell us a little bit about you, your family, and your ministry.
Sure. I am so happy to be here. When I first met you online, I was like, "Oh, I want to get to know her. She shines bright, and I think we would have a fun time together." So, thank you for the work that you do. I am an empty nest coach, and so I help Christian moms launch their kids and enjoy the empty nest. I do it because, like you say, this group of moms is so unsupported. We were supported in every way when our children were young, from baby to teen, and we knew exactly what to do. We had resources, and then our kids leave us, go to college, and we're like, what are we supposed to do now? So this ministry was born out of that. So I love to coach moms. I have a robust coaching ministry. I meet with moms on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons. And then I also am a speaker and a writer and a podcaster. I have a podcast called the Midlife Mama Podcast, where I just love supporting moms. And I have short episodes where you can just grab one while you're unloading the dishwasher or on your commute to work. And so it's just a place for a mom to feel seen and encouraged. I have 5 adult kids. I don't know how we got here, but here we are. My kids are from 24 to 35. Our oldest is Keenan, married to Michelle, and they have our 2 grandsons, Teddy and Gus, who are 9 and 7. Then comes Mariah. She's not married. And then Caleb and our son Caleb, married to Aisha. They live in the Twin Cities. Then I have Rebecca, married to Ryan. They live in Iowa. Then I have Keziah, married to Forrest, and they live in Iowa. And they have our newest granddaughter, Ren, who's only 8 weeks old. And I'm obsessed with.
I saw
She's
you
just
practicing bows on her.
yes.
And I was there for it. I was like, I'm here for this content. Please continue to share the bow trying on session with Ren.
We will. We will. Her mom's, oh my gosh, she looks so cute and bows. I'm like, she's got a whole shelf of them. Let's use them. Accessories. That's what we do.
That's right. That's right. You are the queen of accessories because whenever we first met, that was actually what drew me to you. Yes, you do have a beautiful smile as well, but your glasses. You are
Oh,
always rocking the coolest glasses. And so it's the smile and the vibrant accessories. And yeah, so Rin has no choice but to be an accessory
it's no
queen.
choice. And also, I'm married to the love of my life, Robert. We've been married 37 years.
Wow.
And life just gets sweeter. I'm here to tell you that empty nest is a beautiful place to be. Yes, there are lots of things to navigate, but once you are settled, it's really quite sweet.
I love that encouragement. But let's switch. It's the holidays. And that is also something that should be cherished and should be very sweet. But it can be so difficult, Pamela,
Yes.
especially if we're looking at the different dynamics of our home, of relationships that we have. And so that's what this season is about. Help. It's the holidays. What encouragement or experience can you give to moms when they're feeling the overwhelm and quite honestly, possibly the dread that it's the holiday seasons?
Exactly. We want it to be Christ centered. And yet we have these dynamics going on in our families that can make us feel so heavy. We're dealing with sharing our kids for the first time. When your children get married, you're like, what? To share? What is that about? I don't even understand. Then you have families that have stepchildren and step families and all the schedules that you have to deal with. You may have the tension of a child who doesn't serve God anymore. And when you see this child, you can feel a huge sense of shame. And so you feel like that's a reflection of you. Or you're going to just have the usual stress of holiday prep, and then you're trying to please adult children. What do they want to do? You're managing expectations. I always have great expectations. I'm like, oh, it's going to be lovely and wonderful. And I need to just stop that. I've been practicing. I've been practicing this for several years, and I feel like I'm getting better. You also have the tension, perhaps in sibling relationships that maybe you didn't used to have. And then you have the whole election and every that brings to our families. What can a mom do? First of all, we know that we cannot control anyone. We cannot control our children, nor are we supposed to. What we can do is control ourselves. And we can choose to be a haven for our adult children. And that's what I want. When my children come home, I want my home, our home, their former home, to be a safe place for them to land. So what does that require of me? That requires a lot, actually. First of all, you have to really work on some mindsets, the way you think about things, the way you view things. So I want to go through a few of those today. First
Yeah.
of all, you need to know that you are not responsible to make everyone happy.
Mm.
Let
Say
that
that
sink
again.
in.
Yeah.
You
Say
are
that
not
again.
you are not responsible to make everyone happy. Here's what moms do. We've been the champion of this. Like we've spent our whole life. And I can just make everyone happy and adjust everything and then everything will be fine. And what does that do? It leaves us depleted, utterly depleted. So what we can do instead of choosing to please everyone, we can just say, God, I want to please you. I want to please you first and foremost in the things that I say, in the things that I do, in the way that I respond. Here's the thing. Whenever you have an issue with a person in your family, you need to take that to God first and foremost and deal with it. And I think sometimes it gets brought up among during the holidays, one, because the child is returning home and they're like, oh no, we've got all this stuff. You do your part and work with God. Sit with God, process the emotion of it. I am all about emotional responsibility. You are in charge of your emotions. And so
Mhm.
you have to get with God and process them. He doesn't mind that you're angry or sad or feeling rejected, all of the things that we feel, but we bring it to God instead of bringing it or putting it on our adult child.
Mhm.
And then we let love lead because that's what Jesus did. Everywhere he went, he was love. And so we can create a haven relationship in our homes with our adult children when we lead with love.
Mm.
Now, sometimes we're going to have conversations that are difficult, but we handle them with grace and we learn to be exceptional listeners. Here's what our adult kids want more than anything, I think, is empathy. They
Mhm.
just want someone to listen to their perspective and to acknowledge it even when we disagree, even when we see the world completely different. Because listening does not mean agreeing. It just means I value you as a human. And because I love you and you're my child, I will listen to you. And I want to understand where you're at. I don't have to agree with where you're at, but I want to see you. And I want to say, please tell me where you're at. And then when they're done sharing their perspective, you say, thank you for sharing that. That means a lot. This can diffuse so much stress because often moms are afraid to enter into that arena because we're like, what are they going to say? What are they going to say?
Yeah.
Because it will be so distressing to me. Now, if they say something that is distressing to you, it's okay. But we take that to God. We take
Mhm.
that to God and we let Him heal our hearts and we continually pray for our child. But we get to choose to be love.
Mhm.
I think that's so important.
Yeah. I love that your first statement there about you're not in control.
Yeah.
And I think that as our children shift from an environment where we do feel like we are more in control into this environment where they're in control and they have their own opinions and their own thoughts and their own feelings, and it can really be a jolt if let's just take a child that has been really compliant with
Mhm.
family rules,
Mhm.
even into college. And then
Yeah.
they become an adult and now they have their own thoughts. It can be jolting for a family
Yes.
to go, wait,
Yeah.
hold on a minute.
Yep. Something's
You're not
different.
doing yeah, you're not doing what I wanted
Yeah.
you to
Yeah.
do,
Yep.
and it can absolutely bring attention, and when you're talking about bring that issue to God, as well as I do, because we have big families, you have to be really cautious not to bring that issue to another sibling.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Don't do that. Don't triangulate. Don't do that. You talk to the person you have the issue with, or you talk to God. Now, granted, you can talk to your spouse away from everyone because your spouse should be a safe place for you to process this stuff. And then pray with your spouse too. My husband and I just have this daily ritual of praying for our family together. That's what we do.
And that matters. That
Yeah.
matters, and it moves mountains.
Yeah.
Now, in your personal experience, how have you managed to maintain joy? You have a big family, so even when the
Yeah.
kids were younger and now, like you said, you're dealing with 5 kids, 4 of them are married.
Mhm.
Now, that's a lot of other families to deal
It's
with.
a lot of other
It's a
families.
lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people when they're young, I get that. It's like
Yeah.
even it's a lot of people when they're older.
Yeah.
And so, how have you been able to maintain joy amidst the chaos? Because I would be willing to bet, like my Christmas and like our Thanksgivings and really
Yes.
any
Yes.
gathering, it does not have to
Yes.
be a holiday in the Doyle house for all of us to get together and it to be chaos. So how
It's
do you
chaos. There's just stuff everywhere.
yeah, people, opinions,
Yes, yes,
cups.
yes. Yep.
Lord have mercy, the cups. I'm like, how would you what's
I started right. I'm like, here's a Sharpie. What's your name?
and reuse it.
And reuse it because you just gather for morning coffee and you're like, okay, it's 15 cups. Yeah, that's 15 mugs. Oh, I guess we're running the dishwasher again.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
I have some strategies for the busyness of the holidays. But first of all, I want to talk about this mindset that your
Okay.
happiness, in order to maintain joy during the holidays, your happiness is not dependent on your child's actions.
Mm,
Because here's what we usually do. We're like, if they do this and this, then I'll be happy. And if they believe this and this, then I'll be happy. And we have to understand that our joy comes from the Lord. He is our source. Yes, our families bring us joy, but not always. There will be that tension. And you're like,
mm,
now because my child is doing this or believing this, there went my joy. I'm just going to be miserable. And then what good is that going to do? What good is that going to do for the family? We know that mom sets the tone.
yeah.
That's just how it is. It will always be that way. So I want to choose to set the tone in my family. If something comes up and and we've talked about it once, I don't feel like we need to revisit it.
Mm,
And if you have some pot stirrers in the family, you can just say, you know what? I don't think we've already discussed this. I don't really think we need to bring it up again
mm,
because we can change the atmosphere and we
mhm.
can just change the atmosphere, the way you treat people, the way you love people, the way you care for them. Don't overschedule things. Our grown kids are tired, just like we are. Then I think create a holiday that is relaxing in every way. Don't make it
Yeah.
stressful. One thing that we do when we started doing this several years ago is that when all of us gather for the weekend, now I assign meals and your family is in charge of the meal, the buying of the food, the cooking of the food, and the cleanup. That
For
way,
you.
yeah, that way, that my husband and I are up in the kitchen all weekend dealing with all these dishes and all this food and all these things. It takes the pressure off. And we're a family who loves to cook. So I think it's enjoyable for us. The ones who like cooking less usually choose the breakfast meal. And the ones, that's fine. But I think we have to try to approach it differently so that mom doesn't carry the weight. We've always carried the weight of holiday prep. That was our role. Yes, our husbands help in small ways, but really
Yeah.
not that much.
Not that much. Not
Not
that
that
much.
much. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Think of any ways that you can help your family bear the burden of holidays. I think is really nice once our kids reach adulthood.
That's a great idea. I love
Mhm.
that. I had a surgery several years ago. The kids are pretty young, actually, like high schoolish age, and I had surgery the week of Thanksgiving, and it forced them to do the Thanksgiving meal. And so they each one chose a different dish and was like, I'll do
Yeah.
that because that's my favorite
Yeah.
dish. And it ended up turning into a tradition and a wonderful
Oh.
thing. And so now I've got one of my daughters she's on turkey duty. Normally
Nice.
the turkey would be dad's duty, and she
Yeah.
loves it. And so she's already been sending ideas like, "Hey, I'm looking for a new recipe for the turkey. What are y'all thinking?"
Look,
And I love that. I love
that's
that's
beautiful.
hers. And
Yeah.
like you said, it takes the pressure off of me
Mhm.
being in the kitchen and not being able to participate and have conversations and things like that with
Yeah.
the others.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
how do you do this? Your kids are adults, they have their own families, they
Mhm.
have a spouse, and that spouse
Mhm.
has a family that also
Yes.
needs to be visited and honored.
Yes.
How do
Yes.
you find the time for y'all to all be together, or do you put that pressure on everybody? I want everybody together, or is it
Yeah.
come and go as you please?
Right, right.
Does that
Look,
work in your family?
right. Here's the deal. Mom, first and foremost, has to understand that the holidays will not remain the same once our children reach adulthood. To have that expectation is putting so much pressure on your children. And it's putting pressure on yourself that if they don't meet it, then boom, mom's angry or sad or rejected. So understand it's going to look different. I remember when our oldest son first got married, and we were talking about the holidays were coming up. I'm like, "What are we gonna do?" And they're like, "You know what? We've decided that we're gonna spend Thanksgiving with one family and Christmas with the other family, and then we're gonna flip-flop." And I said, "I think that's brilliant." And
Mhm.
that's what we did. And was I sad the first year they weren't there? We're like, "Oh, Kaden and Shelly." Yes, we acknowledge it, but you know what? We still had Christmas, and we still had a lovely time.
Mhm.
So managing those expectations, first and foremost. After managing expectations, have a conversation with
Mhm.
your adult kids. How about that?
Yeah.
We put it all out there and we said, what do we love most? What do we want to keep? What could we get rid of? Every year we have a Hinkle family gingerbread man decorating competition.
Mhm.
It is a hoot and we love it. And they said, no, we don't want to get rid of that. Let's keep it. And we put it out on Facebook and people vote and there's a winner. And it's always my
Yeah.
son-in-law, Ryan, actually.
Yeah.
But we have a very artistic family. So it is, it's stellar. So
Yeah, we do
yeah.
a gingerbread house competition, and
Yeah.
it has gotten out of control. It has gotten out of control. The masterpieces coming from these children,
Yes.
in all for a trophy. The that I used an old trophy and just labeled it gingerbread
Yes.
competition.
There
It
you
is
go.
a coveted trophy in the Doyle house.
There you go. There you go. So have a conversation with your kids. And for us, we also learn to understand that I call it Christmas proper. We don't have to celebrate Christmas on Christmas proper, Christmas Day, because a lot of moms will have deep feelings about this that
Mm,
no, it has to be on Christmas Day and it has to be on Thanksgiving Day. And if it's not, I'm going to be miserable. That's
mhm,
impossible. That's impossible. So now for years, we have celebrated Christmas with our adult kids on the weekend after Christmas
mhm.
wherever that falls. And some years we will be together because Christmas. Now, that was because we had a lot of distance in our family. And our youngest daughter said recently, "Hey, do you ever want to have Christmas again on Christmas proper?" I said, "Yes, actually, I do." And we'll talk about it. It didn't happen this year, and we're okay with it. What matters to me is that my family's together. Everyone is always invited. So far, aside from Keenan and Michelle, everyone has been able to make it. But I know that there will be times that they won't, and we have to be okay with that. We're
Mhm.
still family. We're still valuable. Whoever shows up at my table and I'm going to be present and I'm going to enjoy them instead of languishing and being all grumpy and sad that
Mhm.
for the people who aren't at the table.
Mhm. Mhm. I had a friend who had 6 children, and they just didn't do Christmas.
Okay.
Her and her husband would do their thing, and they let the married children go be with the in-laws.
With the in-laws. Yeah.
And they scheduled, like, a vacation for
Yeah.
their family at this random time, and that was when that family celebrated Christmas,
Yeah.
because it wasn't a competition with all the other families. And I don't want I have only one, child married, and I don't want, as they get married and they have other relationships and maybe they move away, I don't want my kids to feel that pressure. We
Oh.
felt that pressure. My mom
Mhm.
very much was Christmas proper,
Yes.
but
Yep.
my mom was raised as an only child, so in her defense,
Oh,
she
yes.
never had to share. Just
Oh,
no to
shit.
share.
She's like,
And so
"Oh."
she certainly wasn't gonna share us. And then
Yeah.
we moved away, and because we had so many kids, it was really hard to travel, especially when you are forced to the constraint of Christmas proper because you have young
Yes.
kids who were like,
Yes.
"Hold on a minute. This is the night Santa
Yes.
Claus comes. He
Yes.
doesn't come different nights." And
It's
he got
true.
real creative. Yeah, get real creative. And unfortunately for my kids, though, their dad's birthday is December 25th.
Oh my goodness.
So here's what my husband has tried to tell our children. No, we don't have to all be together for Christmas, but it's my birthday. So we have to all be together on my birthday. I'm like,
Definitely.
wow. Yeah. Nice manipulation tactic there, just switching it up. And so it's funny, but that has added a new dimension to our Christmases. Look, the closer it gets to the 25th, the closer he feels he and Jesus are like brothers, and
That's awesome.
it's
That's
all about
awesome.
them. And
Yes.
so anyway, it's good stuff. But
Yeah.
I love the tips that you have of manage your expectations. I think that right there says it all.
Mhm.
When we
Mhm.
step back and we say, what do I expect? And looking at it from a lens of, am I expecting this because it makes me happy?
Mhm. Mhm.
Or am I, or is there a selfish motive behind your
Right.
expectations?
Right.
And
Right.
really looking at that from a different lens and saying,
Uh,
hey, what really should I expect? At the end of
yeah.
the day, it's just a really small glimpse in time on the grand scheme of your relationship with your kids. And why would we be allowing two little small holidays? And do
Yes.
you find, I'm gonna pivot a minute. I don't find that there is as much pressure around other like Easter.
Not at
I just
all. Why is that?
weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, I just feel like
Love it you
thinking that
mentioned
as
it.
I was
Or
saying
4th of
that,
July.
pick another holiday and give it all the glory. 'Cause guess what? Jesus came and Jesus died and Jesus will
Yes.
come again. So that story doesn't change.
Right. Right. Right.
That story
Exactly.
doesn't change. And
Yes.
then you had said also, you said about the expectations. You talked about leading with love. That's so important. That's so important. And then one of the things that you said about having hard conversations, you had mentioned politics earlier, maybe differences, maybe there's disagreements amongst siblings, and don't bring that to the holiday season.
Mhm.
Save that for later. And when you were saying that, I was thinking it's probably not a good idea to have any real serious confrontational conversations leading up to the holidays because
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
when holidays
Mhm.
happen and emotions are high, there may
Mhm.
be things that are happening. You almost can't help for that to possibly just be brewing
Mhm.
underneath, and you don't
Mhm.
want it to
Mhm.
boil over
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
dinner table.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anytime you have a difficult conversation with your adult children, when you're finished, it's always good to say, "Are we okay?
Mhm.
Did you get to say everything you wanted to say?" You know? And you say, "I'm okay. I'm feeling okay. I love you." Reaffirm them. That's the goal of this relationship. Like, I want to have a loving relationship with my children as long as they live and I live. And so I will do what I can to control myself. I cannot control anyone else, but I can be generous. I can be kind. I can be patient.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, here's a question. They have chosen to go to the in-laws versus to your house and you're
Mhm.
bitter and you feel less than because why would they choose that family over my family?
Yeah.
Let's talk to
Uh,
that mama.
oh, sweetheart. First of all, I think the enemy works really hard to drive a wedge into our relationship, and he will do it through bitterness and unforgiveness. And so don't allow that to grow. Don't allow that to grow. Don't take the bait. Don't believe the lie that you are less than, that you are rejected. You're not. You're simply sharing. This is what we do now. This is the season of life. The sooner you accept that, the more peace you will have.
You probably raised that child teaching them to share.
Yes.
Share your
Now it's
toys.
your turn, Mama.
I love
No?
that. I do. Because sharing can be hard, but
It
I
is.
love it when we hold that bitterness because we don't want to share, then everyone's miserable.
Mhm.
Everyone's miserable. And you're
Yes.
setting the tone for future
Yes.
opportunities that they're not going to
Yes.
want to come around because they're going to
Yes.
say, oh,
Oh, she's
mom's going to
bitter
be.
because I think we get to be great mother-in-laws. Like we get to set the tone. I don't ever want my in-laws to go, oh, I don't want to be around her because I don't want to do that. So I will
Mhm,
always have goodwill towards my in-laws
mhm,
because I want them to know that I'm for them.
mhm. And the sharing starts at the wedding.
We-
Like
Probably
newsflash.
during the dating, like even when
Yeah.
they're engaged,
Yeah.
sometimes they'll want to spend a holiday with
Right.
the future family. And you're like, what? You were married and married.
It's so easy to do, but
Yes.
it's also, like you said, and especially with, I found in our family, it was easier for the girls to honor the mothers
Uh-huh.
versus the
Uh-huh.
boys. The boys tended
Yeah.
to let the wife's family
Yes.
take
Yes.
priority.
Yes.
And I have seen that be very difficult
Oh,
for friends and family
mm-hmm.
for the moms to let go of that final almost
Mm-hmm.
grasp on the
Yes.
son. Not
Yes.
so much
And
the
to,
daughters, but the son.
right. Not to be offended by that they chose.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard. I'm not saying it's easy, Mama. We all have to go through it. We all have to learn how to do it.
But do the work in yourself first.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really one of the top things that you said right off the start of this podcast was look at what your expectations are. Look at where maybe you're getting bitter and hurt and do the work
Mm-hmm.
yourself with the Lord and say, Lord, change me.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you change me, then I change everything
Yeah.
around me. And that's really what's so important. And keeping him the focus of the season. This newsflash, it's not about you.
Yeah. Surprise.
I know you're sad to hear that, but it's not about you. So I think you may have already shared it, but I'm going to ask again, is there a family tradition or a recipe that is non-negotiable amongst the seven of you when it comes to the holidays?
This is such a funny story. I have been making these popcorn balls that have peanuts and gumdrops, and the base is not Karo syrup, so they get hard and crunchy. It's a marshmallow, so they're very soft. I've been making them for 35 years. And
Oh
I
my.
always bring them, I brought them to my grandma's house when I was a newlywed. And my grandma loved these popcorn balls so much that my mom would take a couple and hide them in my grandma's cabinet so that when everyone left, they were still there. So I keep bringing them. Now, when I bring them to my mom's, I hide them in my mom's cabinet so that she'll have
Oh,
some when they're left. And then there are some Christmases that my mom isn't home because she's in Arizona. Can you believe it? How could she have been?
right?
But no. So I mail her the popcorn balls.
Oh,
So last year I said, do we want to keep making the popcorn balls? And my kids are like, yeah, we don't really like the popcorn balls. And I'm like, what? You are kidding me. My kid, it's 35 years. I said, are they the only ones who've been eating? Have you ever looked in any of the cabinets you've hidden them in? Are they now, are they spilling out of this cabinet because nobody likes? No, my mom loves them. My grandma loves them. I love them. My husband loves them. I do not understand.
oh my gosh. And your kids are like, we don't
My
even
kids
like
are like,
that.
nah, we don't. You don't have to make those. So I'm heading
That's
to my
soul
mom's.
crushing. That is so crushing.
So But I will make the gingerbread men for the decorating competition.
My goodness, that is actually so funny that they
Isn't
are
that
just.
funny? That's my crew. That's my crew. At
When
least
you
they're
probably
honest.
thought, you were probably thinking, like, which one is going to take up this
I know.
tradition and care?
For
Who's
sure.
going to be hiding
Everyone.
popcorn balls in your cabinet?
I know. I'm gonna have to talk to one of my daughter Rebecca really loves to bake. I might see what she
For the sake of your mother's soul.
please.
That is so funny. And I love the hiding them.
Mhm.
I love
Yes.
just the
Yes.
separating them out. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Maybe since she loves to bake, maybe she needs to find another treat that
Yes.
she could champion for
Yeah.
the family.
There you
That
go. There you
will
go.
actually really like, I need to have one of these.
Oh,
So
they're delicious. They are. I'll give you the recipe.
I really want to interview your kids now. Because you say that with such enthusiasm. They're delicious. They're delicious. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm laughing so hard at that. And so y'all do gingerbread men or
Yes.
gingerbread houses? Explain
Men.
this to me.
Men. We do gingerbread men. So
This guy.
no, they're little. They're little, but they'll be decorated as like pop culture figures, people from movies. Like we're not playing.
And are you only using edible things to decorate?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good. Like I said, we've done the gingerbread houses, and because the first year we bought the kits and so had to use the icing and everything else. In my wisdom of buying the kits, I bought one too few. And
Oh
so we
no.
sit down and Scott and I don't have a kit. And I was like, I'm gonna run to the store. So I just ran right there to the store. They were sold out. There was a Walgreens on the corner. I was like, I'm gonna run there.
Yeah.
Sold out. I went to 3 stores. And it was like, did
Oh.
everybody decide to do gingerbread houses tonight? So I finally get to Walmart, sold out, and I'm like, okay, how can I make this work? So I went to the aisle where the graham crackers are, and I bought graham crackers. And I got home and I said, okay, we're gonna have to build our gingerbread house with just graham crackers. And so I grabbed a hot glue gun because now we are well behind everybody else in the decorating process. And I grabbed a hot glue gun and we ended up, I think we may have won that year. Or no, our daughters won. But what we were able to build with graham crackers and hot glue guns was next level. So
Oh,
the
far
next
exceeded.
year, now I don't buy the houses. I just
Mhm.
buy graham cracker boxes, and I bought little small glue guns, and everybody has glue guns and glue sticks, and then everything else has to be edible. But you have to come up with your own design. They work in
Oh,
pairs, and anything
beautiful.
additional. It is, speaking of cabinets, there is a cabinet, that cabinet above your stove that you don't ever actually
Yes.
use.
Yes.
That entire cabinet, Pamela, is graham crackers, the glue guns, and all the extra stuff because nobody's actually ever going to eat this, right? So it just stays.
No.
All the extra candies and tools for our gingerbread competition. It's that
That's
serious.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I
So
love it. That is fun.
it is. It's fun. It's competitive. We did have to finally put a time constraint on it because there were some
Yes,
days
it would
it would
go
be like
forever.
2 in the morning and I'm like, I don't even care who wins. I don't
Yeah,
care who
give them a time
wins.
limit. Say you have 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you can't go on for days. That's not fair.
No. I'm gonna ask you to share your popcorn ball recipe.
I will.
That would be fantastic, and then we'll let the listeners be the judge of whether your
Yes.
kids are smart or whether your kids are they just don't know what classic taste is.
Exactly. It's an old recipe. Gosh, it's lovely.
You did say okay, you said marshmallow and popcorn. I'm there for both of those ingredients. Then you
Yeah.
said something else.
It has peanuts and gumdrops.
It's the
Spiced
gumdrops.
gumdrops.
Spicy gumdrops. Spicy gumdrops. I'm making these. I am making these.
You are, and I want
I
you
am.
to let me know how it goes.
I will. I will be so honest about that. I promise. I will not crush your soul, Pamela.
My grandma, rest her soul, would love one now, I'm sure.
I'm sure she would. I'm sure she would. And I bet that in heaven they're even better.
I bet they're even better.
Yeah.
There's a whole cabinet.
Yeah. Yeah. Large cabinets full of them. I close every episode with asking, what are you praying for? And is there something that we could join in prayer with you? And is there a verse that you would want to share to encourage our listeners this season?
Sure. I make it a habit of praying for my adult kids every day. And I have an index card for each child and their spouse. And I've just asked the Lord to give me some scripture to pray over each adult child based on what they're going through in this season of life. And then at the same time, I ask the Lord, what do you want me to work on? And so the thing that I'm working on and I've been working on pretty much my whole parenting life, so 35 years. Is
I like those popcorn balls.
yeah, good things take time, but let's always be humble and gentle concerning my adult kids. Because I think when we take that stance, that is how we're able to get through these difficult times, these expectations that we hold, the desires and dreams that we hold that our kids don't always fulfill. And so from Ephesians 4:2, it says, always be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, making allowances for each other's faults because of your love. And so it's just a call for us as moms and me personally to be humble and gentle, to be gracious, to make allowances for our adult kids' faults because they have them and I have them because of Christ's love. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah. That's a wonderful verse to remember. So thank you for sharing that. And I think that this whole conversation will be such an encouragement to the mamas who are like, how do I handle the holidays with adult kids when schedules are different? And how do we manage our own expectations? And at the end of the day, guys, how do we focus our eyes on Jesus and the true meaning of this season and not get lost in the chaos? That's really important.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
It was my pleasure to join you.
Thanks so much for listening to The Mom Show with Courtney Doyle. Remember to check the show notes for any links, books, or resources that are mentioned in each episode. We want to be sure this blesses other mothers, and in order to do this, if you're listening via podcast, be sure that you like and share. If you could write a review, that would be fantastic. It helps us get in front of other moms. If you're watching via YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button. This way, you won't ever miss an episode. We want to make sure that we increase our reach to other mothers who need a little encouragement, a community, and a whole lot of Jesus. We're so glad you're here.